our UEE specialist tag, and yeah, I think we'll start off with an acknowledgement of country. I think, Ruth, were you going to do that one for us?
That's going to be me. Hi, everybody. Just like to welcome you to our session, and we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia, their connections to land, sea, and community. We pay our respects to the elders, past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people today.
Excellent. Do you want to continue on with the agenda?
Yes, sorry, I got that from you. I need to see which ones were mine. So welcome everybody. Thanks for coming along today. I can't actually see who you all are, but thanks for attending and making the time to hang out with us for an hour or so. In the session today, we're going to cover quite a few things. So we're going to have a look at some of the updates on some of the projects that PSO are working through relevant to our particular tag. We're going to have a look at the outcomes of the request for advice that PSO issued at the end of last meeting and what the group has said in response to that. Then we've got a few other things to discuss and some open conversation time, and that's us done.
Excellent.
So hand over to Phil. First topic, project updates.
Thank you. Yeah, just to follow up on what Ruth was saying, look, if you need to whack your hand up and have a question as we're going along during the meeting, feel free to put your hand up, ask any questions. And yeah, if you'd just like to, usually we go around and introduce everyone, but I think we've probably been to quite a few of our tag meetings now. So if you'd just like to put your name into the chat, your email, if you'd like to, keep those conversations and perhaps your organisation as well. And that way we can keep those conversations going in the chat. Yeah, if you don't want to speak live, if you can't for any reason, most definitely put questions and information into the chat as well. All right, I'll just go through a quick update. I don't want to spend a hell of a lot of time on these updates because all of them are available on our website. The UET rescue units are pretty much completed now, along with the RA51. Well, the new unit will be RA99. So those two projects are pretty much underway with the rescue units being in with skills ministers from memory. Same with the consolidation of the competency development plan has just come back with approval from skills ministers. So we'll see those things up on the website on TGA shortly. Creating the energy sector pathway. For those that have been following this one, it sort of went in two directions. We split the Cert 2 career start out, and that will now fall into the full UEE training package review. Mind you, there is a little bit of consultation out at the moment with a couple of updates to the qualification. So because our UEE full review doesn't finish until 2027, we need to get the white card and a couple of other of those superseded units updated quickly into the current Cert 2 electrotechnology and some of those other qualifications. And in the background, working away on the energy sector pathway, the qualification there, drafting some units of competency with the help of the technical committees. The technical committee. The ERAC essential performance capabilities is completed now, so all those findings again will move into the full UE review. All those updates to the electrician qualification, or what needs to happen to the electrical qualification, will now move into that full UE review. Our minor changes to various training packages. Look, we're still keeping an eye on this, but as we work through that full UE review, we will be updating those minor changes, and as a matter of process, as we're looking at all the units of competency and the qualifications, we're still looking at the UETs, Ps and Gs to look at those minor changes as well. Vet workforce blueprint still progressing on schedule, and again, updates on our website for that. And obviously the 10 new projects that I won't list out now, but are clearly described, the progress with timelines on our website where all them are happening. Thanks.
Thanks, Phil. All right. So these next couple of slides, we're going to have a look at the outcomes from the request. What was it called?
Request for advice.
That's the one. Thank you, Phil.
Yep.
Request for advice survey that PSO published at the end of our last meeting, or following after that. So in this survey, there were 4 questions specifically related to our particular tag, and of the members from the group, we had 5 responses to those questions. So do you want to just go through that first one? So the first question that survey asked was about training package challenges. And we were asked to identify what the current challenges were. So as you can see on the screen here, the 5 people that did respond to this basically highlighted these things. So at the top of the list, the highest one was outdated or irrelevant units of competency, and obviously PSO are doing lots of work in that space. So that one for sure is an issue. There was a couple of, at the next level down, quite a few at that 40% level. So regulatory compliance, variability is an issue. Lack of practical experience requirements, complexity and size of the training package, the packaging rules themselves, prerequisites, that's always a nightmare. So those were the next sort of most identified problem areas. And then as far as particular outcomes or solutions that people indicated, that sort of went along the lines of introducing more flexibility, stronger focus on real work, changing the emphasis towards the practical outcomes, where we can import units from other training packages rather than continuing with our own bespoke units that are just highly complicated. And with the smart technology stuff, collaborate with CEDIA to implement some additional stuff there. So that was the first question. Moving on to question 2. We'll come back at the end of this to see if people have got questions or thoughts on any of this. So the second one was about industry needs and how well the training packages are meeting those industry needs. So again, some issues raised in this space. Not all of the areas got a response, but of the ones that did, so we have that the package requires review, we know that. Improved delivery methods, better understanding of the support that's required, a better engagement from RTOs with industry, and particular skills around smart home technology is probably an area that's not really keeping up with industry demand or industry standard at least. Do we move on to question 3? So this one is about emerging technology and how well is the current training package keeping up with that, particularly in that area of smart home technology and all the change that's coming with renewable energy systems. So 60%, so I guess not everybody answered this one, but 60% indicated that the training package does not align with industry needs in those 2 areas particularly. So there's obviously a little bit of work to do around that space. technology does move quicker than a lot of times training package change can keep up with. Last question is about future workforce needs. You can see these are all quite intrinsically linked to each other. What are the most critical skills and qualifications that should be prioritised? So that industry skills that we most wanted to see a focus on is a focus on people over purely technical skills, lowering the barriers and legislative constraints in training, becoming more outcomes focused. Prioritising training in smart home technology. So we really want to focus in those in that smart home technologies and renewable energy area. And we think that there needs to be some development of skills or qualifications aligned to the net zero targets to support that clean energy transition. So that was how our group responded to those questions. So just opening it to the floor, just use the raise your hand button if you wanted to make a comment. But in any of those 4 areas, is there anything anybody else would like to add? Maybe you didn't get to do the survey, or maybe you're one of the respondents. Have you got any thoughts on any of those things that have been raised?
Diantha.
Sorry, I was struggling to turn the mic on. Okay,
You're right.
Yeah, actually, I'm not sure. I don't think I responded to this survey. I would like to actually give my thoughts on this one, because I already have shared an email with you, Phil, about the DV package.
Yes.
I did an in-depth analysis on that one. It goes. I would like to actually give my thoughts, particularly. The applicability of that, the content, the technologies have moved on so much nowadays with the introduction of NBN, and it goes towards the implementation of the smart technology, smart home, and that kind of things as well. Basically, people need to understand the fundamentals of networking in order to understand what's going on and how to actually apply their knowledge towards the future developments.
Yeah.
Most of the smart technologies are actually very new in people. We almost anyone can use those technologies without that much of a technical knowledge anymore. However, the complications are in the underlying layers of implementing, installing them, and managing them, making it secure. That kind of things. It comes to that level. So I would like to actually get involved and discuss in a little bit more detail about the DV package. And emerging needs in the industry. I have some contacts with the industry where, particularly in the rail sector, actually, so these electronics people, they have this need of repairing the legacy system, repairing and maintaining legacy systems, particularly in railway, air services, telecom, and some other manufacturing environments. They are not actually changing or thinking about changing their systems every couple of years. Once they install a system, they won't keep it going for things like in the order of 10 years or so.
Yeah.
Right, and but I met some guys in Air Services New South Wales. I was surprised to see the standard POTS telephone is still being used. When I asked that, they said the VoIP phones could not actually meet all the requirements in those situations, reliability, etc. So they still have the old type of modems and things like that in rack full of equipment. Unfortunately, there are no technicians, those who understand the underlying principles.
Yeah.
And would you believe the railway systems, they still use analog systems to in signaling, rail communications, low frequency oscillators and all that. Now I organize some guys to come and get training in our Granville TAFE to understand the fundamentals.
That's interesting, because a lot of that still exists in the current training packages, doesn't it? In those DV units of competency, and everyone talks about the newer technologies, but maybe there's something there that we need to be when we move into that development phase of how we keep some of those
You need to
underpinning
connect these two ends.
Yeah, the underpinning principles there of the older technology, but also intertwining that into the new technologies as well. So that's a yeah.
Yeah, when they talk about IoTs, actually, to me, it is not new. The concept is actually was there for good 10, 15 years. But the implementation has become easier now. About 15 years ago, setting up a VPN was a nightmare. Now you don't even have to think about it. It's actually automated. But however, the underlying principles remain the same.
Yeah.
The application has become much more wider and easier to use because of the relevant interfaces and all the development. But underlying the TCP/IP is still living. I thought IPv4 would have gone by 2004. It's still alive.
Yeah.
Or the RS-232, RS-485, those protocols are still in existence.
Yeah, no.
So those fundamentals need to be actually communicated, continued through. But given the we need to actually show the connection between the newer technologies and the underlying principles.
Yeah, that's a good point. And the rail signaling one, or the rail, is an interesting one as well, because we talked to the rail signaling people, and they're talking about the electronic train control systems that are coming into play now and the new technologies around that. And then on one hand, we're still using, maintaining old systems that are still there as well, probably out in regional and remote areas as well, I suppose.
No, it's
no?
right here.
Yeah, right.
The rail, actually, those new technologies actually setting on top of those old technology underlying principles.
Right.
The audio frequency signaling is still there, but they use newer technologies to generate those signals.
Right.
You don't have the valves, amplifiers, or oscillators anymore, but they have been replaced by newer versions of other transistors or synthesized or things like that. But underlying frequencies are the same. For good reason. Yeah. So those are the thoughts. Actually, I would like to give my feedback onto this survey if I can have access to that place.
Yeah, I reckon we're probably. I'm not sure that we'll be able to get back onto this survey, but look, I think we can organise. I'll talk to Rach in the background, and we probably can organise a way of getting the questions to you, and then you can just fill out those 4 or 5 questions and work it that way.
Will do.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank
Thanks.
you.
It's good to get that feedback, even if it's a little bit late. But what it does highlight is just the absolute importance of responding to these surveys when they come out. The more information we can get from everybody in the group up front, it's just so important. So really strongly encourage you, when you see those come out, request for advice, please make time to actually complete that survey and give us your thoughts, because it's just so helpful.
Yep. Sure.
All right. No other questions on that one before we move on to the next section? Looks like we're all good.
Good.
All right, Phil.
Yep. Actually, what I might do, Rach, is just skip to the next one, and then we'll come back to this one, because it sort of ties in with what Diantha was saying. And it was around our training package review for the full UEE as we're moving forward, and as subject matter expert groups. Now, we did have a lot of emails and a lot of information going out about, can you get onto these subject matter expert groups, because these are the ones, so the nominations went out, the subject matter experts, these are the people that are going to be looking at the nuts and bolts stuff around these particular areas. And we have signaled them out into, these distinct groups. However, there will be some crossover, and we were just having some, as the names were coming in, we started having an early review yesterday. We're looking at the electronics and communication area, and looking at the data and voice, and knowing that there's there's big crossover in these two particular areas. So, you know, look, again, look, if you've happened to miss, do let us know, but we'll be putting together the SME groups now, and those things that have come up in those surveys are the ones that will be following through. So hopefully you got your name in there. If something has gone wrong, let us drop us an email and we can see what we can do. But yeah, obviously some of the groups will be a lot bigger, like, you know, our electrical general will probably be huge, and every man and their dog, I would say, would want to be in it. But yeah, if you have a specialty in one of the other areas that might be aligned to this tag, like the rail signalling, fire and security, electronics, communications, data and voice, yeah, if you haven't got in there, give us a yell and we can see what we can do. Thank you, Veronica. And yes, I will include every woman, man and dog. That's correct. Thank you for pulling me up on that. So yeah, so just flipping back to this discussion, and we'll have a couple of discussions, and I'll lead this one, and I might get Ruth to talk about the other one a little bit down. But this one is around so early in as we've started reviewing our UEE qualifications and our units of competency, we're starting to look at the pathways through from Cert 2 or even Cert 1. We've only got one Cert 1, but from Cert 1, Cert 2, right through to those diplomas and advanced diplomas. And some of the things we are starting to uncover or have a look at is that pathway is not clear in a lot of cases. Sometimes there's entry requirements, prerequisite requirements for certain qualifications, nesting of Cert 3s within diplomas and advanced diplomas, but also when we just look at the units of competency themselves, we've got Certificate 2 units of competency, or Certificate 2 units that sit in advanced diplomas. A good example of those for anyone who might know is the CD UEE CD 0019, where we're, you know, potentially you're building a toolbox. You know, do we want our people who are undertaking advanced diplomas out in the workshop, you know, pulling together a sheet metal toolbox or something along those lines? So if there's something in that space that interests you, well, they're the sort of discussions that we'll be having in those SME groups about, you know, diplomas and advanced diplomas, the pathways through from Cert 2 all the way through to those advanced diplomas. Don't know if anyone's got any comments about that, what they've seen, what they know. Is it the case in this particular tag group with those electronics, data communications type qualifications where we have nested to 3s or barriers that are stopping people undertake this? What we're realizing is that, you know, if you're potentially doing diplomas, advanced diplomas, you don't necessarily need to be an electrician to undertake some of the occupational outcomes from those diplomas. So what units of competency do need to be in the advanced diplomas and the diplomas? Have we got the pathways right so you can follow that career progression through your working life? Peter?
Yeah, I think the transition from certificate through to diploma really needs to be looked at. There's some units that just don't transfer through. Specifically in electronics and communications, where I've looked a lot closer. But I tried to do a a bridging course from Cert 3 trade to Cert 4, and it became too difficult. And then to go on to diploma, again, there were issues stepping through.
Yeah.
So pretty much anything that's in the core in Cert 3 should be offered as electives in the Cert 4, I think, and so on. That would help anyhow.
Yeah. And look, we need more people in the industry as a whole. And not necessarily everyone working on the tools. So, yeah. Anybody else with some comment?
People that understand trade and the training, understand the training package and the industry requirements is what you need.
Yeah.
Someone that can cross over between the two.
Yeah.
So some TAFE teachers are pretty good at training packages, and they might be handy.
Yep, excellent. We got another hand up there. Travis?
Thanks, Phil. So I'm looking at the UEE 21920, so the Certificate 2 in Electronics, which has UEE CD 0027 as a core unit, which is one of the competency development units of competency. At that Certificate 2 level, I don't know whether that's placed correctly in a Certificate 2 or whether that should feature more in a Certificate 3 and above. It can be difficult to get the workplace experience for a Certificate 2 student.
Yeah. There's a few examples of those competency development units that sit in quals potentially that they don't need to be in, and vice versa, I suppose. Some of these things also go with when we talk about and as we review our qualifications and units of competency, is that, and safety is always comes up as a discussion, and safety is the paramount of the industry that we're in. And what we find is as we look through our units of competency, our CD 0007, the WHS unit sits in the Cert 1 electrocomms, but it's also in the advanced diplomas. There's no scaffolding of knowledge. There's no building of knowledge as we go through the different qualifications. There's a big difference between someone who's doing and looking at WHS at a Cert 1, Cert 2 level to someone that's in that advanced diploma type level as well. And it's the same with the competency development type things. Peter?
Yeah, just with that, I think something that's been missing for the last couple of training packages is the level of delivery. So CD7 should have an AQF number in there as well, so that people that are delivering a diploma and they're delivering that unit know it's supposed to be assessed at AQF1.
Yeah.
So it's a very relevant unit, I think, to anyone.
Yeah.
Anyone that's ever going to touch a piece of electrical or electronic equipment should do it.
Yeah.
But there also should be like a diploma level version of CD16 where they're managing WHS. So,
yeah.
Anyway, just a thought. I think that AQF level is missing. I think if we're not going to put it in the unit number, we need to put it in the unit of competency somewhere to say this unit should be delivered and assessed at a certain level.
Yeah, and that's the AQF one comes up a lot in the discussions we have with a lot of our stakeholders. That is a Cert 3, really based at a Cert 3 AQF level. But you're right, they dropped off in the last training package changes, didn't it? Where you could easily see at what level the unit was first packaged at. So there is opportunity, and it may well be a discussion that we have when we move into those development phases, that that we do have the opportunity to look at the titles and the coding, as long as we stick by the organizing framework, but we have an opportunity to look at that the titles and the coding of those units of competency. Yeah, Diantha.
I like to add some thoughts about this smaller units or certain units sitting across multiple qualifications vertically.
Yeah.
If I take an example of DC units, our famous DC set of units,
yes,
they do that starting from Cert 2 actually. They start there, but most of the time actually the content of that mostly suitable for Cert 3 or a little bit above. And from that point to the point that they have to actually undertake a circuit analysis. I can't remember that number. This is about the AC theory and the advanced AC theory with multiple sources and all that. When the students actually have to undertake that AC, we call it circuit analysis. Sorry, I forgot the unit code of that one. There's a huge gap from that point to the basic level of understanding they have gathered in DC, but there's nothing in between to actually bridge the huge gap of knowledge. And I found actually it is very challenging for students to absorb the concepts of multiple sources and various frequencies and phasor diagrams, etc. Having that vertically aligned to the highest level from the Cert 2 actually gives this challenge of not having that intermediate level of knowledge build up. Same story with the digital knowledge as well. They are bombarded. They actually, I think digital subsystems that comes in Cert 3, I think. Yes, Cert 3.
Yeah.
And that goes all the way up to advanced diploma. But the level of the level that we can introduce the basics of digital systems actually is basic introduction to gates and NAND gates and AND gates and fundamental building blocks. Then going forward, we need to actually introduce the advanced concepts like digital DSPs and gate arrays and that kind of complex devices at the high level.
Yeah.
But we only have one unit, basically.
So there's no building. There's no building of that.
It's not building. It's not
the scaffolding of that knowledge as we get from there. We've got our Cert 2, Cert 3 level.
Vertically upwards all the way.
Yeah.
So, but the level at the level of advanced diploma, we want to introduce higher concepts, high level concepts like and obviously you can't actually talk about DSPs and how those complex system at Cert 3 level. Cert 3 levels they need to absorb the fundamentals of logic systems.
Yeah, so that probably plays into your delivery timeframes, isn't it? If you've got to fill that gap within, you're delivering your diploma, advanced diploma, or you've got to fill that gap of that knowledge that's missing to be able to deliver what you need to be delivering at that advanced level.
It actually even more complex when often in a classroom, since we are delivering the unit at a certain level, you have a mix of students from Cert 3 and Cert 4 and diploma and above. So then the advanced diploma students actually at a much better level. They're coming from the industry. They have much better awareness and understanding. And if you pitch to those students, the Cert 3 students get actually discouraged, and we need to actually put extra time. And this difficulty is there to cater for those different cohorts. And it is not correct for us to deliver a unit at different standards or levels.
Yeah.
Because the unit got to be the unit. It said what is specified for.
Correct. Yeah.
So with the current packaging rules, you can do almost anything. If I have a cohort of advanced diploma level students, I can actually talk about advanced stuff. But at a Cert 3 level, it will be different conversation.
Yeah.
Strictly speaking, it is not ideal. So we need to actually look into those differences at certain AQF levels.
Yeah.
So that's a big problem in our vertically aligned this.
The way we're set out at the moment.
Yeah.
No, very
I
good
think
points.
ICT package, actually, I have a bit of experience the ICT package as well, but they are layered much better.
Yeah.
They have now units starting with 2, insert 2, 3 with insert 3, and actually they're not mixed in that the combination of qualifications. Yeah.
They're actually separate units, are they?
Separate units. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they have their own.
They got their own
problems. They
problems.
got their own problems. Yes, that's a different story. But
Yeah.
at least they got the
Nothing's
numbering
perfect.
right. Yes, they got the numbering right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very good. Very good. All right. Is there anyone in the chat that's we'll just have a quick look at that. Right, looking at the pathways. Yep. Some agreement there that we need to be looking at those. So yeah, great. All right. Well, we might move on to our next discussion points. Yeah. Do you want to lead this one away, Ruth?
I will. Yes.
Excellent.
So, in this slide, this is really just to give you guys an opportunity to again share your thoughts. So the previous conversation was really great. This is really almost an extension of that, I think. So looking at how can we make our training packages meet emerging technology requirements, noting previous comments about, well, not forgetting the old stuff potentially as well. How we maybe look at what common units might look like, how we're going to address cybersecurity skills, foundation skills, the makeup of qualifications, units, how we structure our elective banks, and how we're going to cover data centers as being obviously something that's an increasing thing in the industry that we need to address. So is there anybody who's got thoughts immediately on any of those points?
Yeah, I think we've got a couple of things happening with what we might want to call emerging industry technology. One is that we still do need the old skills, but the other is that a lot of people are now not repairing at component level. So we also need the ability to provide a modular approach to repairs and in understanding circuitry.
So is that, Travis, just expanding on that, is that like your plug and play modules? If you've got an appliance or a device that you pull out that component, test it, working, not working, can be fixed, can't be fixed, put it aside, grab the new bit, put it in. Is that what we're... Yeah, basically.
If you specifically look at things like DC power supplies,
yep,
we used to repair DC power supplies, but with switch mode power supplies, they've gotten much smaller. They're at low power levels, they're throwaway devices. We don't repair them. It's only the larger power devices that we'd even look at. Most people looking at switch mode power supplies now find the power supply faulty. They replace the plug pack. Much the same thing will happen inside circuitry. I still teach my students about adders because there's some interesting circuitry in there in digital technology. However, they will never repair an adder because an adder is now part of a math coprocessor. So our technology has miniaturized to a point where much of our stuff is no longer being repaired the same way as it used to be. And while we still have some people out there actually doing the component level repair and going down to circuit level, many others are really just doing modular repair. And in my age, we would have called them board jockeys or TAs, but now they're the tradesmen.
That's very important point, Travis. Actually, the both needs are there. Vast majority of them will be what you call a plug replacing module level, but there will be a small number of expert workers they will be doing component level repairs. Component repair level still has a place in the industry, because some of the
I agree with
expensive,
that.
some of the expensive boards, some modules are expensive. It will justify the effort they put to repair. Sometimes they're actually very expensive. I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars, particularly in the mining and automation industry. So the skill is needed. Unfortunately, you don't need that many people to do that kind of things anymore. The stuff are very reliable, actually. But that expert knowledge is very difficult to find and very difficult to develop as well.
I agree with both of those too. But my initial look at that list was, what a breath of fresh air. This is refreshing to see we're talking the same language here with the cyber skills and data centers, particularly for electronics tradespeople.
Yeah.
I'm also looking at drone technology, so UAV technology as well. In that emerging technologies, it may need to be supported by Certificate 3 tradespeople and other levels also.
No, that's
right. That's good.
definitely a
Thanks,
good
Travis.
one.
Yeah,
Is
I
there-
think we need to add that drone actually coming as a completely different new emerging sector. It can be,
Similar to that,
maybe
are
we
there
can
any
find
others?
a better word, like it will be broadened up a bit, like drones actually, what space they're working. They're going to be new age of mobility or something like that.
UAV.
Mm.
Yeah, great. And as well as what you've mentioned, and anybody in the group think of any other emerging technologies that we don't have on the list and really should have?
Have you got, it's Paul Vivian, have you got system integration in there as well with the smart home?
We know that's on the cards. We probably just haven't listed it there, Paul.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's probably at different levels as well, whether, you know, from a Cert 2 or entry level, you know, into that Cert 3 and higher as well. So, yeah.
All right. If we move on to just considering the common units. Oh, sorry. Did you want to, what time, how much time have we got left in this session?
Oh, we've still got plenty of time. I think we've
plenty
got
of time.
plenty of time. Yeah.
Let's just quickly go through each of those bullet points. It just might spark some other thoughts as well. If we think about the common units, are you finding it easy enough to contextualize units across disciplines? Should it be easy to do that if they're written well? Or any other thoughts that you might have on common units? Peter?
I think there's a disparity between.
Oh, I seem to have lost.
We just lost you a bit, Peter. I can't quite hear you.
Struggling to hear.
I had my cup. I was having my lunch.
There you go. That's the problem.
Sorry, I think there's a disparity between the LV and the ELV stuff. So when we're talking ELV, certainly for CD43 compared to 44, 46, I think it's good to have them apart. And maybe we need to actually put in there that it is ELV, I guess. Some of the problems I've had, certainly with things like hand tools, CD19, is that electricians want to use files and hammers and power drills and all that sort of stuff, and that's fair enough for an electrician.
Yeah.
But when you get into electronics, you're using needle nose pliers, and they're all miniaturized tools. So I know from a delivery point of view, because those units are the same, large organizations like TAFE, who I work for, tend to have a one-off approach, and we'll just do this. And it takes quite some effort to convince them, hang on, instead of pulling apart a three-phase motor, should we not maybe pull apart a monitor or something like that? So the ones that are across different areas, I think we really need to point out in there that acceptable items might be some telecommunications gear or some electronics equipment, or
broader commentary in the range.
Either that'll make
applicable
different
range.
units. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Peter.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm just trying to think how it's not probably the contextualizing is the issue, I suppose, is it? Is there a need for a separate unit, or does it come down to contextualizing, or does it come down to how the unit's written? We do, we can write, because we're reviewing, we can write the units better, but can it work if we have a, as you said, the electricians want to use the hammers, the saws, the power tools, and we're talking about pliers, needle nose pliers. Can we do a common unit? Do we need to have separate units?
I think it can be contextualized.
Yeah,
It
possibly.
can be.
But if you look at the content of CD19, for instance, it goes into a whole lot of tools that would not be used across every part of the trade.
Yeah.
So I
Yep.
think those things probably
They would
need to be
need a
taken
rewrite.
out and leave it to be contextualized. So provide a little bit more ability for contextualization to the correct tools for each industry.
Like
So
using a die.
Yeah, well, we don't need a die, and we don't need to scrape something to get it flat and all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I agree with Pete, actually. Yeah. Yes.
Jesse, you've got your hand up?
Yeah, g'day. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Look, I just got a point to add in about there. I came from an electronic start and then jumped over to electrician myself. And I look back at that and I fully appreciate the opportunity for contextualization, but I also note that I got a bunch of credit for my electrician's apprenticeship that really didn't have a lot to do with me being an electrician. Looking back on it, I'm not saying that shouldn't be it, but I think that should be considered about where that lies. If you're going to have single units, across the different, the different quals, and then contextualize, that just needs to be considered. I don't have the answer for that,
Yeah.
but yeah. But if that's the way you go down, obviously you could split them up and have separate units. It just creates more complexity, when you've
More
probably got
units.
really similar units, yeah, and obviously you're trying to get less units. That's a big part of what's going on in PSO's work.
Yeah.
And I'm all for less units, but it's just something to consider, particularly where you've got an opportunity for people to get credit transfer, for if they do happen to move or jump ship into a different space. So.
Yeah, that's a really important one. Shall we move on? We've sort of covered.
We just got Brett there with his hand
Oh,
up.
sorry, Brett. I didn't see your hand
Yeah,
up.
you're right,
My
Ruth.
apologies. Jump in.
It's sort of half been covered, but yeah, that's CD19, for example. There's parts of it that are written to be contextualized. You dismantling and assembling. It says you can do electronic equipment, instrumentation, refrigeration, but then you've still got to drill and you've got to tap and you've got to use a stand drill and all that sort of, and bend sheet metal, and so it's like it's half been written to contextualize, and then they've mandated all this stuff that would probably fall into a electrical or refrigeration apprentice more than the others. So yeah, it's certainly something we'll be looking at.
All right, if we move on, just to have a bit of a chat perhaps about foundation skills. I'm only skipping the cyber skills because we've sort of talked a little bit about that in the emerging technologies space. So important to note that under the new TPOF rules, at the qualification level, PSO will be telling us LLN sort of information, but it's optional to include information about digital literacy levels. And also, if we're talking about that at the qualification level, it leaves individual RTOs to have to try and work out those things for themselves at the unit level. So do people have any thoughts on whether we should be opting in to include the digital literacy information for a start, and whether we have any thoughts on whether we want that to be shown at the unit level as well.
Silence.
Silence. Nobody knows. Okay.
I think it
Christine.
definitely has to go in at the unit level.
Yeah, I'm thinking too. Actually, I don't know the answer right now, but it looks like we need to differentiate or narrowly focus towards different technical areas. Probably I don't have the answer with me right now.
Christine, you've got your hand up.
Maybe on mute
No.
or
Yeah, sorry,
Yep,
I'm
there
on.
we go.
Yep,
Yeah,
there
sorry,
we
I had
go.
to figure
Got our
out
mute
how,
button, hey?
how to figure out how to get out of it. Yeah, I think digital literacy should be embedded in everything we've got, because we tend to use a lot of the phones now, even for JSAs and for uploading our work orders. You know, it's just really a part of everything we do. So especially in electronics, I would imagine as well, because I do FPGAs and digital electronics as well. So it's, yeah, I think digital literacy should be in everywhere from the get-go.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Christine. Okay, so I'm not seeing you.
Travis, we got there.
Travis, you've got your hand up.
Thanks, Ruth. So regarding the ACSF levels inserted at unit level, I think it's important for the core units. The electives, I don't know the best course of action there.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. And the other complexity of that is that, you know, if units are imported from other JSEs, other training packages, again, they have the ability the same as PSO, you know, they must be at the qualification level, but potentially they may be in at a unit level, they may not be in at a unit level. So, yeah, it's something to consider when we look at if units are imported as well. But we are getting a little bit of feedback around, you know, it could be a help at a unit of competency level. Yeah, so.
Absolutely. I think one of the things, this was perhaps, maybe I should mention this in the nesting discussion, but Phil and I had a chat about this last week. Sometimes inside a unit, there's content in there that's also not pitched at the same level as all the rest of the content in the unit. So if we were to have that information, then perhaps it would be a bit more obvious to us, or particularly where designing those units of competency or looking at changing them, to pick out parts of a unit that just aren't pitched at the right level as everything else inside the unit. And just as an example, and it's not in one of the ELV quals, but it is a UEE unit. It's about writing engineering reports. And so this is at a diploma or advanced diploma level qualification. But in the unit itself, it talks about turning a computer on, printing a document, and all of these things that are explicitly recorded as performance evidence requirements. So we got audited on that unit and had to rectify our material because we weren't teaching engineers to print documents that seemed a bit stupid. But we had to add it into the course because it was in the unit. So things like that, if we could be looking at that nesting all the way up through vertical through the qualifications, but even within a unit, and maybe these LLND information could help to also identify parts of a unit that just don't match all the rest of the unit. So some of that could be helpful there too. Has anybody else got their hand up that I'm not seeing? Sorry, I have to scroll through.
That's the DC
pages to
maintaining
see.
documentation unit.
Peter.
Yeah,
Peter, you've got your hand up.
Some of our units do actually get a bit complex. EC66, for instance, is troubleshoot amplifiers and electronic apparatus. It requires you to do calculations for a multi-stage amplifier. So I would really love if that had the AQSF level on it for mathematics, at least for numeracy. And that should be up at least a 4.
Yeah.
So there's a few other units like that where you're getting into complex devices where a certain level of literacy in some area is quite important before they get into the room. And yeah, if they don't have that prerequisite ability, it is certainly discouraging for the apprentices and for the students.
That's a great point, actually, because what it's showing is it's not only important for RTOs who have to figure out how to teach these units, it's actually really important for us to be telling prospective learners, this is what this unit's going to take, so that they can know if, you know, they need to do any remedial work, or if the unit's not for them, they're going to go in a different direction. So it's actually great information on a number of points if we could have that at that unit level.
Yeah, actually, we don't have some units to teach some binary mathematics, you know, binary arithmetics and calculations. To bridge that gap, we start some introduction with an introduction, but there are some gaps in knowledge, particularly when it comes to these advanced units. We only have some fundamental units at the lower levels, and there's nothing in between.
Yeah, EC69 looks at binary and teaches them binary addition and subtraction, which they probably actually don't need, but they've got the conversion between binary, hex, decimal, and BCD in there. So
yeah, they do have that.
Again, that's okay at the lower level, but why don't we look at more complex devices like microprocessors? And like there's some microcontroller units, but there's no microprocessor units that I know of. And if there were, they should be diploma level units. We should have those units in the diploma. And yet electronics, I know diploma level, there's almost no electronics.
Can I say you can get a diploma without having to do any electronics units?
Yeah, it's all management and drawing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That seems like a loophole we want to close. All really great points. Thanks, everyone. I think, Christine, did I see you pop your hand up there? No, you might have.
No. Yes. Sorry. So I'm still figuring out how to do this Alt Control Mute. Hey, yeah, even in the Cert 3 data and voice, they don't actually have the digital subsystems unit in it. It's really I was really quite unimpressed with that, because everything we do in the data and voice, it's got IP addressing, it's got, you know, hexadecimal, it's got binary, and it just seems to be lacking. That whole qual just needs to have that digital unit in it. But it doesn't. I mean, I can gap fill. I have no trouble with that, but it just seems a bit odd.
All the things that we'll be looking at as PSO goes through their review. So again, get involved. You gotta be putting your contribution in if you want to get that outcome. Just quickly, I think we've talked about most things, but I just want to touch on the electives. So some food for thought. Do we want to go down the pathway of grouping our electives in specializations, grouping them just in random groups, having no electives but just having core and then skill sets? What thoughts would people have around how maybe electives get put together?
And that conversation is some of the stuff that Diantha maybe was talking about earlier, where we need underpinning principles, but how do we cover off, you know, the older stuff, the newer stuff, you know, is it a way, you know, do we go down those, you know, specialization pathways? Yeah, don't know. Is it skill sets? Skill sets are becoming a little bit more popular. There's a little bit more talk about skill sets now with, you know, the skills that are needed in different industries. You know, you can have a technician that does, you know, a basic qualification, but then can they upskill by doing different skill sets? And there might be some of that stuff that Travis talked about with the modular, you know, plug and play sort of things. Is that a skill set? You know, you're learning your underpinning, your basics, your testing, all those safety, all those sort of stuff. And is this a skill set of moving on, or is there skill sets in I thought, what was it, AV, the drones or those sorts of things? So yeah, I don't know. Lots of hands flew up there.
Yeah. So Alan, I think you're first.
Right, isn't that the point at which you say, okay, industry, what do you want? If you're doing mining, here's a skill set for mining. If we're doing residential, here's the stuff we need for smart home and renewable energy and conventional wiring for residential. Isn't that the best way of going about? Look at your use cases and say, that's what industry wants. That's how we're going to group it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Alan. Peter, you have your hand up next.
You just bumped my memory. I've had a lot of inquiries about, is there a course in electronics for hobbyists? And that would be a perfect skill set to certainly look at, that I think is something that could be easily marketed. So just maybe from the basic safety through to DC circuits or something in that area that is transferable through, though I think DC circuits is probably in too much depth for a hobbyist, but you know.
You'd have to,
or maybe there's something else there, another unit. Yeah.
You'd have to make sure those
there might
ones
be a
don't
micro
have,
course there, a
Micro
set one in electronics or something.
You'd have to separate that from any employability practical aspects. Otherwise, they wouldn't ever be able to achieve them.
There's certainly a market there, though.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Janta?
And actually, yeah, I'll join my comment on that one as well. Hobbyist and it's I can see a lot of interest for these automation robotics like application that goes very close with the robot hobbies, because like toy cars and drones and homemade stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
And I want to actually sort of highlight something here, that the bigger distractor for our training, particularly electronic space, is the knowledge, the vast amount of knowledge available in the internet for free. The fantastic resources, and tapping onto them is actually if you want to do something these days, we can actually learn by yourself. But the ability to learn that there's a gap between just a normal person and to being able to absorb that knowledge from internet. That's an observation that we need to actually keep in mind. There's a vast amount of knowledge, not necessarily that content is accurate and safe to use. There are sort of dangerous practices as well. So I just want to highlight that we are in this environment. It is a competitor and at the same time it's a distractor. So we, in our training package, we need to be mindful about the existence of such content around us. We have to compete with them. We have a space as a responsible training service. We have to be within our limits and be authentic. At the same time, we are actually competing with those unqualified, unverified, but at the same time, competing information. Yeah. I'm always using them, but I can see the problems when I'm using them. There's sometimes misguiding and misinformed people as well.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. I think we may have covered just about everything on that list. Is there anything we've missed, or anybody with a hand up? I can't see anybody.
Yeah, I'll probably just expand on that data center one. So we are getting a lot of feedback in data center. So while potentially it could sit in the ICT training package space, there's a lot in there within the UEE space as well. So it potentially not everything that goes into the data center, but the way the data centers are controlled. It sort of probably sits in that automation, home integration or business integration where, you know, the air conditioner must be kept at a certain level, the security cameras, the fire detection, you know, that leads onto sprinkler systems. And so how they're remotely monitored. The feedback we're getting is that Australia is a very attractive place for data centers worldwide. We have a reasonably stable government. We have reasonably stable climates. Again, reasonably, and I say this with a, but reasonably cheap power compared to some of the other places in the world. And we don't have a lot of outages either. So we are getting a lot of feedback within that data center space as well now. Yeah. So that was why that data center one was coming up.
Got a comment there from Travis.
Yeah.
Any other, Travis, did you want to speak about that or?
Yeah, basically just opening up to the floor. Is there anything we haven't covered? Any comments, anything that we might want to talk about next time? Obviously, if there's something that you'd like to whack onto the agenda, put onto the agenda, shoot something through to us. We will be sending out a request for advice after our round of tags have finished. Peter?
Yeah, I was just wondering, I sent through a suggestion as a Cert 3 in modular electronics. I was just wondering if that's gotten through the food chain to you guys.
I'm not sure that it has, but we can note that down as an action now to follow that up. Rach, if we can just put that down. But yeah, we'll follow that up. What was the gist of that one, Peter?
I think I can I add it into the chat?
For sure, yeah. Yeah, you should be able to.
I'm just trying to work out if I can.
Okay, no worries. That's all right. While you're doing that,
I think actually I can grab your email, Philip, and I'll send it through to you.
I'll put my email into the chat.
I can see it there already.
Oh, you can see it there. Great, excellent, fantastic.
Christine, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, hi. There's something I want to mention about the, in particular, about the ACMA requirements for the open registration, which is of concern to me. So we've got the UEE training package, and then they've got an equivalence, which is the ICT training package. And the concerns I have is the ICT training package for their electives in fibre optic splicing and structured cabling, coaxial cable, have got no prerequisites listed on their side. And so that's a big concern. When I have a look at the differences between the equivalents, they have very little of the knowledge that we have in the UEE training package. So there is a stark contrast between the two. It's of grave concern to me because the training provided by the UEE package is far more prescriptive and knowledge-based and got greater skill, but unfortunately to get the open registration, you don't need to have that depth. If you go the ICT package way, you basically can circumvent a lot of the knowledge that is the requirement of the UE training package. Now, I don't want to lower our standards because that I just believe that there's a discrepancy that needs to somehow be shown, because it's really bringing out a very poor lot of students if they go through the ICT training package. There's lots. It's right across the board. It right down to not assessing twice for the skill on two separate occasions, to just far less knowledge component, and even just basically no prerequisites needed for those electives for the open registration. It's sort of just, yeah, it's of concern to me because
look, it's come up. It's come up lots, and my background is from where, before I joined PSO, I was at an RTO delivering electrical for 10 years previously, and we would get those comments about prerequisites, the discrepancies between the knowledge and the skills and what needed to be done. And yes, while our apprentices would go through and do UEE, we wouldn't have any upskill. We wouldn't have, they would all be doing ICT through different providers. Now, the ICT package is held by another JSC who are about to undertake a review of the 5 qualifications, which includes the ACMA licensing as well. So please jump on to their website. It's Future Skills that look after that training package, and provide comment there. They are also will be some cross JSC collaboration on this between ourselves and one of the other JSCs. It's gone from my mind at the moment, but to provide that feedback. So yes, potentially there will still be 2 pathways, a UEE and an ICT, but to look at both the pathways and try and come. So I don't know what the words I'm trying to say, but definitely looking at those the 2 pathways that are there for sure.
So it was Future Skills. How do I jump into that?
Yeah, Future Skills Organisation. Have a look on their website, and they would have information about those training packages that are getting updated. And hopefully someone can put a link in there. If not, we can put the link into the chat there for you. But yeah, they're about to or just started reviewing those 5 ICT qualifications, and I think. Look, it's definitely come up. Whoever you talk to in the UEE, whoever's been dealing with the DV, knows exactly where you're coming from in that regards. And
I'm just gobsmacked. I really am just gobsmacked because, of course, the student has got a choice between doing doing those units, and of which I've just done them just to prove a point.
Yep.
Within 3 days to get your open registration and $800, and then to do it through the UEE training package, squillions, and we've got the volume of learning and all these other attributes we've got to put in. And then they come to me and they want RPL because they've gone and shortchanged and gone off and done a couple of day course, touched no instruments, done nothing, and they've got the open registration. And I just can't. I just think that's got to stop. It's gone. It's beyond a joke. I don't know how. If they've got away with it all these years, how that's going to happen. But
and it wasn't until they changed their last training package that they did put a couple of prerequisites. Before, there was no prerequisites whatsoever.
But we've got 5 prerequisites you have to have.
They've got a couple, I know,
and they've got 2, and their 2 are just so basic, watered down. Oh my God,
Yes.
So I don't know how you pull them into line, or whether are we oversubscribing? I don't think so.
In some regards, a little bit. I wouldn't say, not by miles, but there's probably some things will change when we do review those DV units, but it's never going to get down to the, should I say, down to the level that the ICT is at. But
I mean, if I had my way, they wouldn't be practicing. They wonder why they've got so many problems with, contractors and that, and technicians and that out there, and there's good reason, Anyway, that's my say. I'll jump into that link. Thank you.
Thank you. Travis?
I'm just reviewing the HLTA unit of competency that's a Group A imported elective into the 30920 package. And then what I've done is I've benchmarked that against the electrical 30820 package where there's a HLTA unit that's a core unit. I understand they're both different units, but I just wanted to point out that potential misalignment if looking at pathwaying.
Yeah.
That there's the HLTA ID 11 in the 30920 as an elective and the HLTA ID 009 in the 30820 package.
Yeah, that has also been brought up, some of the different alignments between the different requirements for the HLT, those first aid units as well. And I think it'll also to be discussed that, you know, should they be core, should they be elective, you know, what type, you know, should they be prerequisites and all those discussions. So yeah, I think there's a lot more to come from those ones as well. Steve?
Yeah, g'day, Phil. Sorry, Travis, just to enlighten you with that one, it's the health unit's a core unit in the 30820 because of the imported unit LV switchboard rescue. It has it as a prerequisite as well. So once that's got brought into the core, its prereq had to be brought into the core as well.
Thanks, Steve. But yeah, I was just pointing out the potential for misalignment between the two packages.
The differences.
Looking at pathway.
Yep. Yeah,
for
that's
sure.
cool.
Anybody else like to add some comments? There's some great conversations today. All right, we'll just slip over to our next slide, which is, I'm sure, the thank you very much. Oh, we've sort of been through questions.
We have, and a few people have had to drop off already.
Yeah.
So thanks everybody for your time and your comments and being actively involved. Really appreciate that. Do you know when the next session is, Phil?
I think we had it up on that last one there in October.
28th of October.
And I suppose I should also notice a big thank you to Ruth, who's been chairing alone. Quinton, who was our other chair of our UEE ELV tag, specialist tag, has joined PSO. So he's become an employee under PSO now. So you will still be seeing Quinton around. But what we will be looking for is a new chair of our tag to help Ruth out along the way. So we look forward to see where we're going with that one for our next one in October.
Oh, all right then. Thanks, Phil. Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.